Hi, I'm Brittney Rose from Temptation Island, and I'm here with Chris Gordon for Hellblazer Biz.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, listeners and viewers, wherever you are in the world right now. This is Hellblazer Biz, and your host is always me, Chris Gordon. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate all your support as always. This week I bring to you another fantastic guest who has recently been seen on Temptation Island, causing a stir. So without further ado, I bring to you Miss Brittney Rose. Everyone, on this episode I have the delightful pleasure of the company of Brittney Rose, who is currently on Temptation Island in the States. So hi Brittney, thank you for joining me.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No, you're welcome. I really appreciate obviously all of this. Love chatting to people and love bringing people on from different backgrounds and different areas. So yeah, it's really, and I suppose this is one of these shows, Temptation Island. I know, I admit, and I hold my hand up before so people can see. I've already mentioned I've not been able to see it yet because here in the UK we don't get it. But I know the premise of the show. I've been reading some gossip on the. We're trying to
the good or the bad gossip.
Well, it's probably good for you with some of what's been some of the things have been going on, but obviously that's the nature of the show. And I've got a couple of questions people had sent in because I reached out, and a couple of people have sent stuff in as well. So it's just basically just a nice little conversation to find out more about who you are. Obviously, Temptation Island, what your plans are, what your thoughts are, where things are going. If you things you can't talk about, obviously it's fine.
Well, we had the part one of the season finale was last night, so I think I can talk about a lot now.
Brilliant. Okay, fine.
Yeah. A lot more than I've been able to talk about, at least.
Brilliant. And I know there's a lot of things going on about a certain person as well with you and a person called Carl. Perhaps, yeah. And my computer's just died. Bear with me. Oh, there we are. Cool.
Okay.
Excellent. So first of all, I mean, it's your background. It just for something like Temptation Island. Is this your first reality show that you've been on?
Yes, it is. I know nothing about reality TV before doing this. I hadn't even been watching any reality TV before doing this, and it just kind of made its way into my life and showed up, and one thing led to another, so I wound up just going with the flow and saying yes to it.
Fantastic. Have you regretted it?
No, not at all. There's been very challenging moments, very hard moments to navigate, but I don't regret it.
Fantastic.
I learned a lot from it, actually.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's. I mean, I don't get much time myself to watch much reality shows, and I say that from mine purely because with this is like a separate sort of career for me, second career that I'm building up, doing the interviewing, which I absolutely adore, and I want to take it and turn it around and make it the main one. But at the moment, I've got another career, so I do that, then I do this. But obviously, researching it means I have to watch all the TV shows and all the films for the guests I'm having on, and it doesn't give me any time. Like yourself, when you're working so much, you don't actually have the time to watch anything. Like you've binge watched, like you say, since you've been back, the ones that you've missed. So I do kind of binge watch stuff. Like we've had Love Island in the UK, and my wife got into that, so I ended up having to watch it as well. And you get drawn in. You really do get just drawn and suckered right into some of these characters and some of these people.
I hate to say it, but it's kind of like a car wreck in that way. I think reality TV is like you want to look away, but you really can't stop. And it's not that. I mean, I think that the viewers and the audience also get invested in the characters because at some point they start to like their walls come down and their humanity is showing. So I think that's natural to feel for them.
Excellent. And I mean, so how did someone like yourself? I mean, you are a very spiritual person. You actually own your own yoga retreat, is that correct?
Yeah, my mom and I started a business together in 2013. We started it in Tulum, Mexico, and we had a really bad experience at a retreat that just wasn't centered in like good energy, and it inspired us to create it differently. And we built a retreat company together, and we did like we were doing back-to-back retreats, sometimes 3 or 4 a month, one after another, but it was so worth it and amazing.
Fantastic. And I mean, it's a great thing. I mean, I've done a little bit of yoga myself. I'm not built for it, but that's why I do it. It's just
Everyone is built for it.
That's the thing. It is true, because it doesn't matter. I mean, I used to be then. Long story. I used to do wrestling, had an accident, and just did nothing for a while. So it's, a couple of years back. But the yoga really did help, and even with the injury, because I couldn't do it in a class. I get too embarrassed when I was, in front of other people. So I
That's natural.
I
That's
bought,
normal.
I think it was Diamond Dallas, being a wrestler, Diamond Dallas Page yoga. So I've got to say, I did that side of things with stretching, and it does help, and I find it does clear your mind as well, because when you're just in that moment, and you just, you're obviously stretching, you can meditate as well, because the longer you can do the pose, obviously the longer you can just relax and let things flow. I don't know the ins and outs of yoga. I'm not going to profess I do. I just know that when I sat there and did some of it, that's the feelings that I got, was the relaxation from it. And it's a wonderful thing for people to be able to do, and anyone in life can do it, I think.
Oh, excuse my dogs. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I got amazing guard dogs. Anytime anyone gets home, that's what they do.
Brilliant.
No, it sounds like you naturally see. That's what I mean when I say yoga's for everybody, because you naturally kind of get it. You don't have to know everything about it, but there's something about it that connects to you for you.
Yep. Sorry, I just saw people poking their heads in behind you.
That's right. It's actually. My roommate, Dom, we just launched a handful of retreats together. That's who just got home.
Oh, excellent.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you are right. I mean, it's forever. Someone at work, a colleague of mine, has just started it up as well. And he came in after the first night of doing it, and he was just like, oh my God, never again.
It depends on the class, because it can be really, really, really hard. And there's so many different types of yoga that if you don't know what to look for or what kind of class to go to, like, I had students show up to my power yoga classes before. It's their first yoga class. I'm like, you shouldn't be in a power yoga class for your first class. Go look some stuff up on YouTube and learn what this is first,
Yeah, you do have to choose. I mean, I remember going to a spin class. I was invited to my first ever spin class years ago, and I'd never done it before. And the class that I was invited to was by a friend who's gymmed all the time, and they went to an advanced spin class. And I didn't know any better.
It makes me cry.
Yeah, I didn't know any better.
In those classes.
I couldn't get it.
Like dark, and for me, it's not so much like a yoga class. I feel like you can find aspects of yoga in everything, because if you're just being present with like the fast pacedness and the heart rate going up and all of that stuff in the spin class, it can be turned into yoga. But all of that high energy just releases something in me, and I cry in those classes.
Yeah, the spin, I don't think I could get out of bed the day after. Yeah, I couldn't after I did the spin class. I've got to say, I couldn't even get out of bed that first time. But that was the advanced class, and that's right, because just like the yoga, you've got to research first before you do the right ones.
Yeah, you can't just jump right into it if it's not familiar with your body.
Yeah,
if your body's not familiar with it.
Yeah, I think my friend, my colleague at work, he just jumped straight in, and that was the wrong thing. But I mean, I do boxing now, and there's an element of that in the training that we do there, because it's all the core body, and it's the plank is what we do there, and obviously we just sit in sort of stretches and relaxation stretches, but it's all ones that'll strengthen the core body, and again, it's ones you just get lost in, because if I'm tired at the end and I'm just lying there like that, my mind just wanders. it's great, and you lose the fact that your body's probably, well, my body in particular, be screaming in agony at the fact that I'm having to hold this position, because it does free my mind to just go and do whatever.
Yeah, our bodies are so much stronger than we tell ourselves too, and we think. So it really is about overpowering the mind or working with the mind in anything you're doing, whether it's a yoga class or boxing. And I think we'll be surprised at what our bodies are capable of.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're also doing this, you want a meditation island retreat as well. Have you started that, or is that something that you're looking to?
Yeah, we just announced a couple of them this week. It's just kind of fun. Like, it's a play on Temptation Island. Obviously, we're having 2 of them in Hawaii, actually at the end of May in Maui. So it's just an opportunity. I've gotten so much feedback from fans that are actually interested in health and wellness and learning more about yoga and fitness and nutrition and just really, but not just like physical health, but mental health.
Yeah.
And working on the thoughts and the emotions and the lives that they're creating for themselves. So I thought it would be a fun thing to kind of throw together a couple retreats that the fans can come to if they want to. And we are going to have one of the other cast members, I won't say who yet, but one of the 4 gentlemen from my beach villa is going to come do personal training as well at one or both of those retreats. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty awesome experience for people to actually to go there. And Hawaii, what a set! I'm so jealous because that's another place on my hit list of places I'd love to go to.
You gotta come, Meditation Island retreats.
Yeah,
we'll get you totally seasoned in yoga.
Sounds perfect. It does. It's just sadly for me, it costs from the UK. Hawaii is just a little bit too much money.
Yeah. How long is the travel time from there?
I think it's quite horrendous. I think it's a 9-hour flight to LA, just to LA. But I think to Hawaii, you're looking.
Hawaii's closer though. That's what I'm thinking.
I think it's still about a 9-hour flight. I think. But then you've got a layover because you've got to stop at Chicago or New York, somewhere like that, and then
all over the place.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah. So it just seems longer, but it's doable. It's just for some reason they just love putting the price up, because we did look into coming to Hawaii because it's one of the most gorgeous settings, and I can imagine having
Hawaii's expensive. Yeah.
But having having a retreat there, I can see because of the whole vibe of Hawaii. So it will be a perfect place to have your Meditation Island retreat. How can you not fall in love with the surroundings and just lose yourself and relax with all that greenery?
It's medicine, I think. The land there, the nature, the plants, trees, birds, coconuts, waterfalls.
Yeah, thanks. Really jealous now because I'm looking out the window.
You'll get there someday. I can see it now. You probably won't want to leave though.
No, probably true.
Don't go there during winter because you definitely won't want to go back to the UK, huh?
No. I mean, I live 400 metres from the beach at the moment, so it's where I live in North Wales. It's a nice enough beach, but when it's raining and miserable and wet like this, which is a lot of the time in winter, I could just stand on the beach and think, just dream of being in Hawaii.
Under the sunshine.
Yeah. And all just absolutely amazing. So, kind of what drew you then, as someone who obviously is you are grounded in yourself. I mean, I can hear that speaking to you. You are very, someone who's obviously been very big on Temptation Island. You seem very grounded and trying to think of the word, focused on what you want to do and ways who you are. That's what I'm trying to get the words out there. You're welcome. But what drew you to a show like Temptation Island then? What was the thing that made you? How did they get in touch with you?
That was just fate. Chance happening. I wasn't drawn to it because I didn't know anything about it. And my old roommate she was approached and asked if she wanted to be on the show, and she wasn't interested. And she had given them my information at the time without telling me. And so I got a message and I did an interview, and then I did another interview, and then I did another one, and then we did final casting and they wanted me to be on it. And I was like, whoa. So I sat on the contracts for almost a month, 3 weeks or something, because I was just kind of I was so on the fence at that point. Yeah. Never done anything like this. I'm there's a lot of things about this that kind of scare me, which is ultimately why I decided to do it, because it pushed me outside of my comfort zone. And I spoke to a handful of my friends living in LA. I know some people that have been on reality TV, so I spoke to, especially my friend Dean. He was on The Bachelorette and Winter Games and Bachelor in Paradise. So he was the last person I called. I'm like, Dean, I'm freaking out. These contracts scare me. Yeah. This whole thing scares me. What should I do? I need to know more about your experience. And he's laughing at me. And he's like, Britt, it's gonna be great. Who knows exactly what it's gonna be like, but it's gonna be great. And I think that you should do it. It's such a unique experience. So, that calmed me down a little bit, knowing that he'd been through it a handful of times. And it's you don't have anything to really fear. So, just went with it.
Fantastic. And I mean, you went on as one of the singles in the show as well. Because if I'm right about this, this is where it's very similar to what we've had Love Island. I think there's 4 couples. And then there's some, how is it, 20, 21, something like that. People or whatever it is to come on to the show, and that's where you've got to stir things up in there. So how did that premise work? I mean, did you? I'm trying to think. How would you go into? It's awkward, I guess, isn't it? An awkward situation to be thrown into. But I guess that's where you, like
really
you said,
bizarre.
Yeah,
it's so unusual, and the deciding, because it's controversial and so not normal. The only reason I said yes to it is because the couples come into this willingly, knowing exactly what they're getting themselves into for some crazy reason that I still don't fully understand. They wanted to do it.
Yeah.
they wanted to subject their relationship to this experiment. So transparency for me, like above so many things, is key. So I was like, you know what? Okay, like they're doing it. I'm doing it. I was told, and they shared with me the casting process, and they did just extensive background checking, personality tests, psych evaluations, just to really, like, we were told that we were putting in a house with real probable matches.
Yeah.
So not only were these people open to dating other people, but they were likely going to connect. There were people in the house that really were likely going to connect. So I like the idea of that. I like the sound of that. Dating in LA is hard. People just go like next pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It's a little bit surface level in that way. So I was like, wow, they're going to do all of the personality testing and find me my perfect match, like best case scenario. So went with it. I'm like, they're professionals. They know what they're doing.
Fair enough. And how did you find living with all different people? Because I know there's something, we've had Big Brother and everything for years where you can see, and that's obviously the twist of different personalities sort of getting together. I mean, you seem, again, like I'll just say, you are very outgoing, you seem to get on well with people. You get on with, you know, picked up straight away, getting on well with me, or being polite with me, at least.
A little bit of both.
Yeah. So, you know, you've got that in there. So how did you find being, you know, the other personalities in the show and living with those guys?
Well, I got along pretty quickly with the other three guys in the house besides Carl, like off the bat. I think, you know, like Evan had a moment where he wanted to date me and I was just not very interested. I just didn't feel that there. But we became friends after that kind of awkwardness was smoothed over. Javen is one of the greatest men I've ever met. Like, I love his personality. He's so special. So I was really, you know, he was pressured a lot by some of the other women. And I was always like, Javen, you don't have to do anything you don't feel comfortable doing. Like, you are so awesome. Just be here, be present, and enjoy yourself. Don't listen to that, you know? And then John was like my best friend there. Love him. And it's a shame, like, you're not really caught up or seeing the episodes, but he was probably the most, like, normal person out of the entire cast, and sweet as can be. Such a just, like, southern, down-to-earth, homebody guy. And his girlfriend's been ripping him to shreds the whole season. Like, since day one. And so I was there with him that whole month while he was experiencing that, and that was really hard for him to go through, and just to watch him go through that. But he came out a renewed person. So the guys I was really tight with. Women in this household, very challenging to navigate some of those interactions and experiences. I think that the setup of it is likely to breed some jealousy or competition type of thing, but I didn't expect that off the bat because everyone got along really well. And but after 2 or 3 weeks in a house with 20 people, and all you have to do is go in the pool and drink alcohol, it's kind of like stuff's bound to get a little bit tense. So it was interesting. It was very interesting, to say the least.
Fantastic. And do you act any differently? Because obviously, you know, is your personality, did you change that for when you're on screen to when you're off screen, or is there anything?
One difference is I was drinking there. I wasn't at the beginning, but I was, and that's very rare in my everyday life, to be involved in that kind of, like, scene or energy. Like, I'm just not that into it. I did have some tequila last night, but that was a celebration. And I enjoy a beer every once in a while, but drinking, like, day after day, that was hard on my body, and that was unusual for me. But in terms of changing my personality, not really. I did hold back in certain regards, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there were some confrontations with actually just one of the crazy chicks on the show.
Yeah.
And I just was like biting my tongue, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, just don't do this right now. Like, don't do this. Just back up a little bit, you know, because I am like a yogi and all the stuff. And there's a stigma and like kind of an idea of what that means. And I don't think I fit in that box. Like, my family's from the East Coast. My dad's Philly, born and raised. Like, I've come a long way to get to this peaceful state of mind of where I am, but I still have that inner like East Coast girl inside of me that I was like, don't trigger her, don't bring her out. Like, I don't want to do this right now. I'm just gonna. So I really, really, in that regard, depended on and leaned on my yoga practice, because when I was feeling triggered like that, I feel fire in the center of my body where I want to react to someone. I would just breathe. I would just breathe and calm myself down. So I didn't allow myself to react from that fiery kind of triggered space. If that happened a couple times in the house, that was about it.
I'll give you full credit for doing that as well, because I've got to admit, I trigger.
That was hard.
And I know how you got to think, and I mean, obviously not in such a pressured situation as yours that you've been in, but there are situations, and breathing deeply, and obviously, you know, if you've got that background and you've got that way of life, that, you know, that of the yoga and being a yogi and stuff, you can actually control that. Because it's hard, isn't it? I fail so many times.
When there's cameramen in your face and a really hyped up, not super stable girl just trying to like, just not taking no for an answer, it's challenging, but I'm really proud of myself, pat on the back, that I would just walk away from those situations, because it's not what I was there for either at the end of the day. And that's what I was saying. I'm like, I'm not here to do this with you. Like, I don't really know you. And at that point I was connecting so much with Carl that I was like, I'm here to hang out with him. I'm here to get to know him.
Yeah.
So, waste of energy, waste of time.
It is, and you know, there are situations, and that's how you got to think of things. There, you know, if it's not worth wasting your energy on, just walk away, let it go. Don't get yourself embroiled in arguments. Don't, you know, this is just a statement of life. Just stay away. Just leave it.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to get triggered on social media a lot because I'd see stuff which was really.
I understand that.
Yeah, and it's like I'll be sitting there and I've sent stuff out before and then realised it's like, oh, too late. So now what I do, if I'll write it, and before I preview it or send it, I'll just like stop. And it was just like, right, no, close my eyes, think about it, deep breath, open my eyes, look at it again and think, no, I better take all that out.
Well, yeah, you know what I do? Like, this is something that worked for me on the island is I told myself, I made the commitment when I was feeling, I don't know what the word is, but just feeling like I wanted to react, having that like natural like defensiveness, I promised myself that's not where I would come from. So I would wait until the feeling, the emotional like fire was gone until I addressed that or had that conversation or dealt with that situation. And I think it carries on to normal life too. It's like, just don't react from that place. Calm down, take your mind off of it. And then when you can kind of mentally just address it from a more logical point of view, your reaction will probably be very different.
Yeah. But you know, half the people at home when you're on a show like that will be sitting there going, come on, get her.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I ever do reality TV again, I'm not holding back, because I learned through this scenario for the most part that like, well, one, that's what people want to see. Like you said, they want to see controversy or drama, and I'm not saying that I would want to get involved in drama or instigate or fuel that at all, but standing up for myself and having like no fear in how that's going to be perceived from the other person or how people are going to see it or react to it. Like, I would definitely do more of that rather than just trying to like be like, whoa, I don't want anything to do with this.
You see, that sounds horrible. Good. That's the kind of character or person I would watch more on a show, is what you've obviously done on Temptation Island this time, and taking a step back. Because the ones who go, I feel sometimes the ones who do say, where people do, I mean, yeah, I'm probably in a minority, like you said, because so many people like the confrontation, and that's what people watch it for. But I take a step back in the shows that I've watched. I've actually taken more intrigue in people like you have maybe just stepped back and just had that inner strength to say, no, just it's not worth it. Just to leave it and just let things go and let things slide and just carry on.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that didn't make the cut to what the audience is seeing, because I think for this realm of TV and this audience, the fan base, like, it's not really what they're looking for. But I have received a ton of messages of people just being like, wow, I love the way you handle yourself. You're so calm and collected, but you still, like, speak the truth. And you're still kind of, like, putting that person in their place. But it's the way you go about it, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Totally the way you do it.
It is. I mean, I'm quite known for having a way of words. People say to me, goes, I can put someone down, right down in their place, and make it in such a way that everybody else knows exactly what I've done, but the person I'm saying it to is just there, and they haven't really got a clue. They don't realise that I've just done it, and just like completely just owned them.
That's a superpower that you got there.
Yeah, now and then it doesn't work, but sometimes it's just perfectly placed with just a bit of sarcasm and a bit, and it depends who you say it to, because say some people just don't get it. Some people are just like, right, okay, and then feel like
right over their head.
Yeah.
Right over the head.
Like Jeff Dunham.
Okay.
Sorry.
Ignorance is bliss.
It is. Cool. So, I had something else lined. That's what I was going to say. With the, you mentioned, obviously, people who go on these shows. This is something that's a very hot topic in the UK. And I don't know if it is the same in the... You'll have to bear with me on this scratch. I know you can probably see my picture bigger. My cat...
I didn't even notice it before you pointed it out.
My cat stomped on my face in bed the other night.
I didn't even see that.
Nothing impressive like a boxing cut or anything. No, my cat stomped on my face deliberately.
It's a love scratch.
It is, yeah. Well, maybe, possibly, from the cat.
Or she's just telling you who's boss.
I think that's more like it is. It's because she wasn't happy because I kicked her off the bed.
That's what you get.
Yep.
She's like, that's what you get, Dad. That's my bed.
Oh, yeah. So I was going to say, the hot topic here is, especially with Love Island and... which I say that's a sort of a similar to Temptation Island that we've had there, and that is so you see, yeah, and that was that. The fact is, with mental health issues and things like that, and how supportive the shows have been to cast members off air as well, because tragically, I think we've had about 2 or 3 people who've been on Love Island in the past couple of years. This year, one only about a week or so ago, who've taken their own lives.
Wow!
Because they couldn't handle, and they were given, the only support was given to the people who won the show, as it were, and everyone else is just fed all the publicity and all the fame of boosting them up, and then at the end of it, there's nothing left. There's nothing there, and there's no. They've not felt the support. All the relationships that they had just didn't work out, whichever way it was, and they've struggled with mental health. And we've had that. I say it was this week or last week. Tragically, one of them from 2 years ago. One of the guys on the show, took his life, and I think last year we did as well. So it's a quite a hot topic at the moment of how you feel on the show and how you feel coming off the show. I mean, a completely different state of mind that you've obviously got. You've got the different because of the where you've come from and the way you look at things. I can see it doesn't affect you, I guess. But how
it does? But it's a daily practice. Like, it's beyond any of the details of what I experience in my life. Mm-hmm. I'm committed to self-care.
Yeah.
And I'm learning what that is on a daily basis. That's what it's about, is checking in with ourselves on a daily basis so that we can work to either prevent the growth of mental illnesses or work with them to ease them. And I think that takes a level of responsibility and commitment.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not pointing any fingers at anyone by any means. That's not at all what I mean. I know that mental illness is a very real thing, but I was prescribed anxiety medication many times since I was 16 years old, and I always said, I don't like the way pills feel in my body. I'm going to at least try some other things like yoga and sunshine and hiking and eliminating processed foods and sugar, and those things really make a difference. So I don't know, I'm kind of going on a tangent here. This is definitely the stuff I like to talk about. But I knew signing up for this that a lot could come my way, positive and negative. And no matter what people are saying online, no matter what this leads to or doesn't lead to afterward, it's my responsibility to figure out how to take care of myself. And if the online comments and whatnot are hurting me and they're not good for my mental well-being, I got to get offline. That's where, like, it's not, I can't point fingers at others, I got to get offline. So I do take breaks from social media.
Yeah.
Because there's some crazy people out there that like to just sit on their computer and say mean things, but it's okay.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think you are right. I mean, I've suffered myself in the past, but I've also refused medication because I've had it once and it does it. I'm not knocking it for anyone because it's the right thing for some people, but for me, it just didn't, I didn't feel right and it just wasn't there, and it was just one of those things. So I also used other avenues, to try and look after myself without having to
like at least
resort
try,
to medication.
right? Because the medications, they'll come with side effects too, and then it's just you have a cup and you're filling it up and and then at some point it's full of not so great things. So I don't know. I just try the natural modalities first, I think.
One of the reasons why I'm several pounds over my weight limit is because after my injury, I got into that and I had the medication, and it ended up putting 14 or 15 pounds on in 2 or 3 weeks, purely because of the medication.
Whoa.
It just bloated me, and it's taken me 3 years now to actually try and lose at least any of that because I've just not been able to get through to it.
The medication,
but that's also my exercise. I've only
just
That's also the exercise and the fact that I haven't done any really for 3 years. I've just started that up again, so huge chunk of what was missing.
Plus it's winter.
Yeah.
Plus it's winter. You got to keep warm.
Yeah, very true. Well, boxing. I do boxing twice a week now in the summer.
I really want to get into boxing. That sounds awesome.
It was great. I mean, I used to wrestle about 5 years ago as a trainee wrestler, and my character was camp. That's how they told me I had to be. So it was called the Fabulous Flash, and it was all this, in the it was comedy character, but it was great fun. And boxing now, I can't do. It's great.
Yeah.
It's a great stress relief. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, yoga's probably a less violent stress relief, which is good. But
it depends on what kind of yoga you're doing.
True, I suppose so.
That's true. You're right.
Yeah. No.
I think there's a place for like more aggressive exercise like boxing, because we all have those, less desirable emotions inside of us. You got to get it out somehow, so you don't fight chicks on reality TV.
Yeah. Oh gosh. So what can you tell me about Carl then? Because obviously he's a big name in your life, in the show. As an outsider, talk to me about Carl. As me being the outsider, obviously.
Let's see. Depending on when you're going to post this is how much I can share with you right now.
It'll probably be about 2 weeks.
Okay, as long as it's after next week's season finale, I think it'll be okay.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'll make sure.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'll say it.
I won't say anything until it's done, don't
worry. We're great friends. We are great friends. He is such a source of support in my life. Like, just that stands out for me more so than a lot of my other relationships. He's so supportive.
Yeah.
He sees me, he gets me, and he acknowledges that. And we're great friends. It was a really weird, bizarre, unnatural experience to go through. And we both have been so understanding of one another's like roller coaster kind of emotions, and just supportive of one another. So that's what that is.
That's nice. It's great that you actually found that, especially in the show, and obviously with all the pressure going on, that you can find that sort of a strength with each other and a connection and a bond, which is what the whole show's premise is about. is to connect people like that, and it's lovely to have. Yeah, lovely to that you get that connection. One of the questions I had sent in, I've got two. The second one, for me, it's awkward to ask, so I'll make sure I'll mention it before and then see whether you want to answer it or not. Because for me, I wouldn't ask this normally. But the first one is from Mariah McGuffey, and she was like, "Do you feel like if you had a chance to say something to Nicole, what would you say to her?"
I actually just tweeted at her the other day because she's been throwing a ton of shade at me on Twitter, and I understand her, and I think Instagram too, I don't know, but I completely understand if she has a natural inclination to not like me. Like, that's just natural for her to feel that way. But yeah, I sent her a message and I said, well, first I started off by saying, can't we all just have a slumber party and call it a day? And she's not into the slumber party, so that's okay. But I just told her something along the lines of, like, if there was anything that I wish that you could know or see, it's how much respect Carl and I actually had this entire experience for your relationship, and how that influenced almost all of our interactions and decisions.
Yeah.
I really wish you could see that. And I'm sorry if I caused you any pain. Like, I truly am. And I'm like, I wish you the best. You seem really cool in your own regard, and I wish you the best. So that's it. I considered reaching out to her many times after the show was filmed, because the thought for me of contributing to pain for any other woman just is, like, slightly devastating. Like, I just don't ever want to be that person, and I understand there are life situations that make pain and suffering kind of inevitable at some point, but once feelings were really developing between Carl and I, because in theory this was so simple, like, sure, I'll go to Maui, I'll go on some extravagant dates. Am I really gonna meet the love of my life? Probably not, but, like, I'm open to it. Let's see what happens. And once we're there and we're both having these real feelings and there's real relationships at stake, it was very hard to navigate that. Like, one of the hardest things I've ever, I felt paralyzed. What do I do here? On a daily basis, I had to wake up and recommit to the experience, because in my real life, I would have just run away.
Yeah.
So weirdly enough, I know it's a little bit ass backwards, I did have Nicole in my mind throughout the whole time, and I never wanted to hurt her. So I hope she's okay.
No, that's natural. I mean, you're right, because I think when you're looking at TV shows and things like that with actors, the actors, they're playing a role. They come away and they can forget about it. With with the premise of the show that you're doing, and you're building those relationships, you're forging relationships, obviously, and bonds with either the males or the females. That's real. That's the whole thing about the reality show. That is actually what you're seeing is what's real. So I really empathise with that. I feel other people's feelings as well, and I can't stand hurting people. Really can't, and so I can really empathise with how the process that you and Carl have both gone through to get to where you are, and to go through when you're seeing it every day and you're faced with things every day and decisions which are really, really hard decisions to make.
Yeah, very hard.
Without wishing to obviously get you
challenging. I mean, I almost have no words for it, because it was freaking me out on a daily basis. I wanted to run from it, but also it was like, if I do that in any way, shape, or form, like, physically I couldn't run away because I was bound by contract, but emotionally, or because we would both go back and forth from, like, checking out emotionally to then circling back and being like, we signed up for this. Are we doing it a disservice if we're not surrendering to the experience and really being open to it? So that was, like, a real tug of war.
Yeah. There's no way I can even answer that.
I had some conversations with the producers. I'm like, help me, guys. This is so hard. I need therapy.
Yeah, I saw it from the other shows that I've seen and things like that as well. You can see it, and you can see that the torment in there, and it's very, very real. So there's not much I can really respond to what you've just said, because it's very accurate and very heartfelt, and it's true. So what, coming away from, obviously you've got the finale next week, which by the time this airs it would have been a couple of weeks ago, possibly, is what have you taken away from your experience on Temptation Island? Because it's an intense time, isn't it? That you've been there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things going on in such a short period of time. So yeah.
So much, and I continue to learn on a daily basis and grow from this experience, because it's still happening and it's always changing. A big thing for me is to truly have compassion in general for myself and so much for other people. I learned, weirdly enough, like I know it might sound a little bit strange for this experience, but I really learned just how wounded every single person is, and how we carry around our past and our traumas in a way. And no one's perfect, and we're all kind of just doing the best we can with what we've got. So to really have that compassion if someone missteps or makes a mistake, or, you know, as long as people are willing to honor that and own up to it, like just to really have that compassion, but also like compassion and boundaries for myself, and not allowing people to take my energy, like we spoke about.
Yeah.
And not allowing people to like really disrespect me. You know, I can deal with that in a respectful manner, but still standing up for myself and creating those boundaries. I learned how to feel comfortable in front of a camera with cameramen and filming me while I'm taking a nap. I learned to be way more conscious with my words, because when you're being filmed 24 hours a day, like, you know, there was one funny night, I don't even remember this because I drank. Apparently I called one of the girls a two-faced asshole in a private conversation, and she was so pissed, like fuming, freaking out the next day. And I'm like, girl, I'm sorry. Like, those are not the words I would use. But like, it's also not true that you're kind of like, you know, you're kind of, but yeah, it's just using my words more wisely, more consciously, and being consistent kind of with who I am, not offering one part of my perspective to this person and a different part of my perspective to that person, just based on like different reasons, but just remaining consistent. I could probably go on and on about the things that I learned in this experience, and just honoring my intuition, you know, not being so hard on myself. There's always going to be lovers and haters, and you can't be everyone's cup of tea.
Yep. I had something perfect the other day, Brittany. It was, you can't be everyone's cup of tea, because if you were, you'll be a mug.
I like that.
I heard that the other day. I thought, I'm going to keep that.
You're a mug.
Yeah. If you think you're everyone's cup of tea, you'll be a mug, which is true, because then you.
It is true. That's funny.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, you've taken a lot of experience away from that, and you know, like you say, you can carry on and on, because I think it's obviously been such a developmental thing for you. Will we see? Would you like to do any more type of reality type shows in the future, or has this been an experience?
Depend. No, go ahead. Or what were you going to say?
Or has this been an experience that you think, nope?
For the last few months, I've been like, oh, hell no, I'm never doing reality TV again.
Yeah.
But it would completely 100% depend on the show and the premise. Yeah. It's fun. It's fun. And it would be a totally different experience for me going into it after being in that world. So I'm open to it for sure.
I mean, well, you've got the power now, and you've got your yoga retreats going.
The power.
So, yeah. Sorry, it sounded so corny, didn't it? So you've got that, and you've got your retreats. You should maybe, you know, you could film one of those and have your own little yoga type retreat.
I don't know if anyone wants to tune into yoga type reality shows.
It'd be quite slow, wouldn't it?
I'll get like 4.5 viewers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the world is ready for this kind of stuff. I really do.
I do. I think there's a lot more people taking care of themselves now, and I mean, I've been self-conscious for years, but more recently I've learnt to. That's how you've got to be. That's how you've got to put yourself across, and it's to do that and look after yourself. And it's things like yoga and stuff like that, sorry, and it's in a spirituality that you can have, and just be at one with yourself, be at one with everything around you. I mean, I love nature, and it's just to have that mix and that balance, just to have your mind just freely away from all the trash that's on every day. In when you see it and you focus on just. I mean,
for what I just heard is like you said something that's really key across the board with all humans, in my opinion. You said I love nature, and that's besides my yoga practice. That's what kept me going in Maui was nature. Anytime I was stressed or couldn't figure out how I was feeling or what to do, I would go lay in the grass in the yard right near the ocean and lay in the grass and connect with the birds and the trees and the sky and the geckos and the toads, whatever I could, because that's home. And I think that's a big part of our healing, like on a mass level, is reconnecting to nature. That's where we come from.
Definitely. I mean, as I say, I'm 400 metres from the beach, so when we've had bad days, just like to just go and sit on the sand or just take a stroll and just listen to the waves lapping over the shore and look at the seals playing out in the sea. Mm-hmm. It's fantastic fun.
And that's literally changing the chemical makeup in your body.
Well, it does, yeah.
Literally shifting your biology and how you feel and what's firing off in your brain.
Yeah, exactly, because it's calming. It's everything. It just completely changes everything. So you might go there feeling grumpy, but you're coming away, feeling relaxed.
Yep.
Good in yourself.
Excuse me, I only slept for 4 hours last night.
That's right.
Don't drink coffee anymore, so get through the day.
No, you're quite all right. I mean, before I draw this to a close, I'm not going to ask the other question. I'll tell you afterwards. But I've got a what's the word it's called? I've forgotten the word for the question. Signature question. That's it. You wouldn't believe I've done over 160 of these interviews, would you?
I believe it. You're doing pretty good.
Thanks, I just keep forgetting. I've got a signature question. Now, this is a totally off-the-wall question. It's got nothing to do with Temptation Island. It's got nothing to do with anything, apart from the fact that 2 years ago now, I had a guest on my show who's worked with Jim Henson and Muppets for 30 years. And someone he was on Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, all the new ones and stuff. Someone sent in a question, and I was like, that's such a cool question. I've got to ask everybody because I want to hear what people's answers would be to it.
Let's hear it.
So, if you could have a Muppet created after your own personality, about who you are, what kind of Muppet would you be and why?
Oh my god.
You can have a mix. You can have.
Does that mean I have to be like an animal?
No. You could be anything you want.
Because I feel like everyone already makes fun of my yogi personality anyway, so I would probably just be like a yogi Muppet thing.
See, now I'm just thinking of Yogi, the Yogi Bear.
I'll be a little teddy bear, sure. Yeah. But, I feel like I'd either be a yogi or like a flower or something.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. I know there is, I can see that. Just dead chilled out, relaxed.
Yeah. Some
fun.
Goofy, like calm, slightly stoned flower, probably.
Yeah. I had an interview a few weeks ago and we ended up just laughing for about 20 minutes about stoned pixies for some reason, because we were talking about Cornish.
Pixies?
Yeah, they were going to do in a film.
What is that?
Pixies. They're like, fairy, like little fairy type things.
Oh,
but they're called
okay.
pixies. For some reason, it just ended up calling them stoned pixies, and it's been a running joke ever since.
That's kind of a cool name for something, stoned pixies.
You wouldn't believe it's actually a rock band.
I do believe that. That's awesome.
I was trying to Google a picture just so I can try and find if someone's drawn a picture of a stoned pixie, and it just came up with this rock band. I was like, well, yeah, it doesn't surprise me either. It's alright, I won't take offence that I'm just boring you.
It's not you, I
joking.
swear. I went to sleep at 2:30 and woke up at 7.
That's not good. Right, okay, before I stop recording, Brittney, is there anything you'd like to say to people who are watching or listening?
Just be kinder to yourselves. We're all going through it. Seriously, we're all going through it, and that's what life is ups and downs. And just remember on a daily basis that it starts with self-compassion, anything, whatever you're doing. And we are working against the grain. We're working with old patterns and habits, so know that and fucking give yourself a pat on the back for being so strong and resilient.
Oh, thanks, Brittney. That was absolutely fantastic talking to you. A real interesting person, and it was great fun. And hope to talk to you again soon on my show, and good luck with all your future endeavours. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in, everyone who asked questions, and the support as always. Please follow and please subscribe to Hellblazer Beers on YouTube and iTunes. Find me on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook as Hellblazer Beers. And also, if you're in the UK, on Amazon Prime, you can find me on there. And also on Roku and Vimeo worldwide. So this has been Chris Gordon with Brittney Rose. on Hellblazer Viz.